What's the worst piece of financial advice somebody has given you? When my mom said that she will hold my money for me as a kid. My grandfather was pretty wealthy and gave $50 100 each birthday. My mom kept it safe for us. I'm pretty sure she used it at least once to pay the light bill when the power got shut off, so at least it went to good use. Never saw a dime of it myself. My mom opened a bank account for me when I was 7, promising to put a small amount there every month, so once I'm 18 I'll have a nice fund to start my life with. Turned 18 and found out she used the account to take out a ton of loans that I now have to pay back. It's illegal to issue credit to a minor. She's responsible for the loans. Talk to someone about this. Just get it at Rent-A-Center. I had a coworker that got pretty much everything there. It's only $20 a week, and they'll replace it if it breaks. $20 a week for how long? Oh cool. So you're paying more than double for it? Got it. My father would tell me to max my credit card on a new car, and if they asked for payments just say FM. What are they going to do? My father is several levels of debt hell deep that he's trying to get out of now, but he's at least trying. What are they going to do? Send me to jail? But like, what really happens? Hold on to those French francs. They will be worth a lot someday. I'm not holding my breath. Well, they probably will be eventually. In about 1000 years they may sell for something good at auction if well preserved. You'll be quids in. I totally misread this and spent the past 60 seconds figuring out how French fries could conceivably be a good investment. That an emergency fund wasn't necessary when you can always get a payday loan or use your credit card. He wasn't joking. My cousin's car broke down and he didn't have enough savings to get it fixed. He took out a $600 payday loan. He's still paying it off. Almost 2 years later. How this shit's still legal baffles the F out of me. $1,000 on a credit card at 19.99% will take 26 years to pay off if you only pay the minimum payment. They are illegal in 12 states, but that is 38 states too few, in my opinion. Spend whatever is in your bank account the day before payday. You obviously don't need it. So when I was 24, I was financially struggling. I had a job that worked me a lot of hours, but only paid me $10 an hour. My parents talked me into buying a brand new 2004 4-door Honda Civic. The pre-interest price tag on it was about $25,000. A few weeks after getting it, my hours got regulated and it took one entire paycheck to make the monthly note on it. I could not afford the insurance on it. I very quickly realized my parents were bad at money. I think that's one of the hard things to swallow when it comes to growing up. Your parents might be shy with money. I ignored a lot of my parents' financial advice and I'm so glad I did. They both made decent money, but borrowed against their house, bought cars they didn't need, and paid for other ridiculous things. They basically live paycheck to paycheck. Don't worry about a career. Armageddon will come before you finish high school. My parents, Jehovah's Witnesses, being raised at JW really stunted my social and emotional growth. And them saying like college is a waste because you're learning worldly things and the end is coming soon, blah blah blah. CS. Spend it quickly or it'll get stolen. Coming from someone with a history of losing and blowing their money, or not even stolen. Folks who've never had enough to get by comfortably have a little imp on their shoulder telling them to spend it now or it'll just go to next month's rent and you won't get to enjoy anything nice with this cash. I knew a guy who had a great job but never saved any money. One day he was randomly telling me how he saved up $10k in his savings account and accidentally told his mom that after that his mom scolded him on why he was doing nothing with that money and he needs to go out and spend it. He said he realized he was being stupid, his words, and he closed that account and spent it immediately. I asked if that sounded like a bad plan. Like what if an event came up where he needed cash for a rainy day or something, and he said something along the lines of that he can always get a job and make money, but while he makes money he should enjoy it. Wasn't sure what to say to him from there, but was impressed at not only the mindset but also how it seemed to be taught to him by his parents not to ever save money. My mom's saying is spend it before it's gone. My Phil, when I mention our retirement plan, I never contribute to my retirement account. Money now is always better than money later. I needed to have a conversation with my husband how we would not be supporting his mom and dad in their insane spending when they have no retirement plan and make huge financial mistakes on a weekly basis. Good news is they both make good money. Sounds like someone who was taught ROI once and has misapplied it ever since. I wish it was that simple. I love my in-laws, but they are just doing the best they can with what they have. They had their first child at 15. My husband at 17. Another child that passed away from a drug overdose, and their youngest is now 19. They are constantly in survival mode and now have custody of their 3 oldest grandkids. They have a slew of health issues and honestly can't see the future more than a month out, so planning for retirement doesn't cross their minds. Money slips out of their hands as fast as they earn it, but they do mean well. Once you cut up the credit card, you don't have to pay it. My cousin is not doing so hot. I'm pretty sure there are warrants out for his arrest in several states. I work for a bank. The amount of times I get customers tell me I just got a phone call saying I owe but I cancelled my card. I tell them we never received a notice that they cancelled it, and they say but I cut it up. Dude, if cutting bills up would solve anything, life would be great. How would the bank even know if you cut it up? Once you cut up the credit card, you don't have to pay it. Throw it in a lake. They can't trace that rookie. Trailer Park Boys. Like if credit cards had some kind of sensor. My aunt took me to a car dealership when I was looking to buy my own first car. I was looking at the clunkers I could afford, but she said I should be looking at the new cars. She said, the total price doesn't matter because you make monthly payments. I suddenly understood too well why she had always been so financially unstable. I had a car dealer say this to me once when I asked the price on a 4-5-year-old car. The actual price doesn't matter. It's the monthly payment that you really need to know. I'm good mate, but cheers anyway. I walked away wondering how does he possibly sell any cars that way, but after reading this sub, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, even if they've recently robbed you, you should still lend them the $500 they need to move to another city. They're your family after all. Dad, I don't even know how mom married your dumb A. One of my uncles once told me that I never really had to pay my phone bill. He suggested that I simply jump to another carrier and let the first company cut you off. His life has turned out exactly as you'd imagine. I used to know a guy whose family had always told him while he was growing up that the ER was free. He was getting his mail sent to his family home for years as an adult. One day he needs to buy a car and guess what? His credit is trashed. Family threw away his medical bills the same as they did theirs. The worst part is now I know the biggest hospital in our area has a very liberal charity program. IIQ can get 100% of your bill dropped if you are uninsured and make under $32K. Basically this whole guy's family would qualify for that program if they just did a little bit of paperwork rather than just throw away bills. My now girlfriend told me about that when I was in with a broken pelvis and they forgave my whole $77K stay because I worked at the Y and made like $9 an hour. I would have never won otherwise. What happened? Don't know. He stopped calling. I don't know how things are in other countries, but I'm in Canada, and my phone bill payment history is part of my credit report. Just get another credit card. My friend who hasn't worked in 3 years and is currently just vibing with his new credit cards he somehow got approved for. A friend's family taught them to take out as many store cards and credit cards as they could, and as long as the minimum was paid, they'd be able to live a luxurious lifestyle. They were almost $100K in debt when they finally told me, from dozens of cards and interest, car loan, etc. Then did not want to discuss it further after I offered advice, lawyer, counseling. It's simply how their parents lived. Life on credit far beyond means. I could not live with that stress. It's so normal for some people though. This comment makes me break out in hives. I would never be able to sleep with that kind of stress. She was almost $100K in debt when she finally told me, from dozens of cards. Then she did not want to discuss it further after I offered advice. It's how her parents lived. Life on credit far beyond means. She was not willing to live humbly to pay it down. It's her choice. I could not live with that stress. If you're that much in debt, for a lot of people there is no realistic way out short of bankruptcy. A not insignificant chunk of the country is living with issues large enough that the only way they can cope is by ignoring them and letting them fester. Credit card company seeing application. No job. Multiple credit cards. Spending habits. Good enough. Alrighty, let's make some money. Approved. I remember when I was first building credit and being denied. I just saw the new one he got and wondered how. I also see the reverse of this often, where my friends in college were terrified of credit cards even though they were great with money. Then they get out of college with no credit and don't realize that it's important for every aspect of life, from apartments to car payments to utilities. I would spend a lot of time trying to explain why credit cards aren't necessarily the devil, and if you are responsible you can start building your credit early to get the jump on it before you leave college housing. A relative tried to recruit me into Amway. He wound up stuck with a garage full of their products. 1976 San Francisco, keep renting. No one will ever pay $35,000 for a 2-bedroom house and garage with a sweeping view of the East Bay. Added later, I went back to visit the old neighborhood a few years ago. Those $35,000 stucco homes up many flights of steps perched on the top of Potrero Hill were now all gentrified, remodeled, gated, and asking $1 in plus, and that was 5 years ago. And now you live on Maui. Yes, moved to Maui in mid 1976 and kept renting. In those days it was sweet, friendly, uncrowded and not too expensive. My rent was $700 mo for 3BR/2 house and garage with a fenced yard in a nice neighborhood. It wasn't until 2000 I could finally afford to buy a house here, in the days when they gave loans with no stated income to self-employed people. And that was only after I'd gotten a real estate license. I was one of the few to survive the Great Recession and come out the other end with my credit intact. Today on Maui, the median price for a single family home is $825K. For $500K and below there are a few really decayed shacks. The sweet spot is $2 to $4 million range. About once a month a home sells in one of the resort areas for over $10 million. The buyers are the mega rich who are mostly only going to live here to vacation, and it does not make the local population feel warm and fuzzy. When I got to university and opened a student current account, I received an interest-free overdraft of about £1,200. I wasn't entirely sure of what that meant. My brother informed me, so that's like your new zero, and encouraged me to use it to buy a new gaming PC. For the next few years I really wish I hadn't taken that advice. He's never been too amazing with his money, so I should have seen that one coming. Unfortunately, we have to learn the hard way sometimes. I maxed out a credit card once because I was like, damn, this is like never ending free money. Boy did I feel dumb as F when my card was declined in a Miguel Jr. drive-thru. Can you explain the psychology behind this? I know it's really common, but I never understood it. Weren't you nervous about interest? Did you know they charge interest on credit card debt? Don't take a raise if it puts you into the next tax bracket, and pay the minimum on your credit card to establish good credit. As others have pointed out, sometimes getting into another bracket or other threshold may affect other benefits such as food stamps and other government non-governmental assistance. Mileage may vary. I was specifically talking about taxes. People at my work make it sound like working overtime makes your paycheck smaller than it would be without. Not a single time has this actually happened. There's a guy at my old hourly job who did this, but he did it so that he could discourage anyone else to pick up extra, and he'd try to get all the OT. We knew what he was trying, lol. He threw a fit if anyone ever got OT, and he didn't that week. He's over 50 and everyone else in their 20s. Several years ago, my company went under new management. They were going to have to pay us all of our remaining unused PTO. I figured, great, I have a ton of PTO left, like $5,000 worth. I had a lot of unused hours. One of my colleagues said, you're going to be hit with taxes, and she said it like, oh, you better be prepared. Don't get excited. They're going to tax the shit out of you anyway, so don't expect much. I get hit with taxes every paycheck, lady, and when I did the math, they didn't take out a higher percentage of that PTO than I normally have taken out of my paycheck. So when I did the math beforehand, I managed my expectations well. Then, I was a manager of a call center. The call center agents made $12.00 an hour, but once I came in, I raised it to $15.50 an hour. One of them complained to me that this means her taxes are being raised and she's earning less. She didn't see the higher number on the bottom of her check for some reason. The getting a raise into the next tax bracket is the dumbest statement ever, made by people who don't understand the very simple mathematics of tax brackets. Getting a raise into the next tax bracket can actually affect you negatively. It's just not due to taxes. For a lot of people, this means that they get kicked out of low-income housing, or lose access to low-income mortgages. House improvement funds suddenly have to pay a lot more in child support, this sort of thing. Put it all on black, only bad advice half the time. Don't invest in a 401k. Luckily, I didn't listen. Yup, my husband was told not to because his job doesn't match, but 15 years later it's over 80k, so I don't call that a bad choice at all. Don't make more money. You'll go up a tax bracket and end up paying more taxes, so you'll end up making less overall. This isn't how taxes work, people. If you go $1 into the next tax bracket, only that $1 is taxed higher. You can't make less money by making more money. I've lived on my own since I was 17. I bought a car and worked my a off to pay it off. It needed new tires, so I called my mom to ask her how to go about it. I literally didn't know tires had sizes, for Pete's sake. She told me to just go trade it in for a new car, and I fine listened to her. I traded a paid off 5-year-old car because it needed new tires. You guys, these Beanie Babies are an investment in our future. 1997, I'm sitting in the office of my college job. An office mate's husband is visiting. He makes a phone call and starts negotiating over a price like he's selling Manhattan real estate. Turns out he's negotiating the sale of a Beanie Baby with a 12-year-old. After a few minutes his wife rolls her eyes and yells, "Let the little girl have the toy." Hey, haggling is an essential skill. He was just helping the kid out. My grandmother bought into that. She got a set for each of her granddaughters. Every time she bought one, she bought 3. My sister, my cousin and I, upon her passing, sat in her bedroom with tubs of the things going, "One for you, one for you, one for me, one for you, one for you, one for me." I still have mine. I daren't get rid of them. She'll haunt me. Yup, that Beanie Babies were supposed to be our savings. That's why I have all my student debt, and my cousin worked 3 jobs to pay for her wedding. My other cousin eloped and joined the Marines for free school. She's the only smart one, I guess. My brother-in-law had a piece of the BB fad back in the late 90s. He marketed tag protectors that would slide over the tie tag and protect it, thus increasing the value of the baby in question. Don't laugh. He made a few millions off of that. Lost it all later. Of course, in the gold rush, the people who made money were those who sold to the miners. Once the POG market bounces back, I'm gonna make these Bitcoin millionaires look like amateurs. Know what's better than winning money on roulette? Doubling down and winning even more. Me to me. This wasn't really their fault because none of us, least of all 20-year-old me lol, could have predicted the fallout from the recession. I was in college when it hit, about halfway through a bachelor's degree. We're not rich and I was paying for it with loans on a semester by semester basis. Friday, you could get a loan. Then suddenly by Monday you couldn't, anywhere. Friends were dropping out left and right, unable to come up with the money for the next semester. That's when my parents gave me the worst financial advice I'll probably ever get. Take on a 25k private student loan with a variable interest rate of 11%. The logic was, we'd refinance it right after college. Simple as that. We didn't predict. IDK if they should have known. It's whatever. That private student loans would be untouchable. No one would refinance it and I was trapped with this absurdly high interest loan. Every year I'd try once, maybe twice, and I was always rejected for having too bad a debt to income ratio. The payments, plus the payments of my other loans, were too high to make anything but the minimums, which went straight to interest. It was like I'd hanged myself but misjudged the length of the rope and could just barely skate my toes on the ground and keep me alive. Barely. It took years to get out from under it. In the end, some 8 years later, we made the final payment. On a 27k loan I paid an additional 23k in interest at a 13% rate. Off. This one hurt the most to read. I got $90 and my 11-year-old son told me I should buy $90 worth of kazoos. No real plan past that. Join my MLM and make lots money. No. Don't major in computer science. Computer scientists are a dime a dozen. I did not take that advice. Legit got told to don't buy food. It's a useless investment like the hell. Guy I haven't seen in 3 years also wanted to talk me into starting a business with him because he just got into college for a bachelor's degree in business. Yeah, sure. Let me get my checkbook out in this badly illuminated garage while we're both drunk. Guy also got into MLM and weird self-optimization preachers. Get a bigger mortgage. You can deduct more from your taxes. Yeah, dumbus. And I'll be spending double that amount in interest, so why should I? Incite me to go to a real expensive restaurant where you can spend easily $250 without drinks at a time. I only had $700 in bank account and had not paid for my car, groceries and stuff. Because come on, we only live once. Don't go to community college. You'll never get a job. Instead apply at X and X colleges. My grandmother, aunt, uncle, and cousin all told me this. And I really considered their advice because my parents really didn't give a sh what I did. Since I didn't get any scholarships from high school, I decided at least if I went to CC and didn't get a job I wouldn't have student debt and I could just do something else. I went to CC for 2 years totally free on FAFSA grants. It was $800 a semester lol. And did so well I transferred to the university with a almost full ride. I am now a semester away from graduation with a job lined up and all of 4k of student debt, which is likely to be forgiven anyway. Good for you. I'd give you gold, but as we're on a wasting money thread that seems too ironic lol. Someone gave me the great advice to take out a loan to pay off a loan. I didn't listen to this advice. There now is £80,000 debt I am not. An uncle told me I should rather spend my money and enjoy life because you only live once, rather than save your money to build up a retirement fund. I am now in my 50s and C0 Rona unemployment has devastated the little bit of savings I had. Should never have listened to Uncle Jarvis. 6/10 things on our Wall Street bits are the worst financial advice I've ever gotten. Not exactly what the question's asking. But my mom has an aunt who thinks the bank is just giving you free money when you use the ATM. Take out a student loan. You'll be able to pay it back easy when you have a degree. Go to college. You'll figure out what you want to study later. But if you don't go now, you'll never go. F that. What kind of fool spends $80k without a goal or purpose?